Hello, woo. Welcome our channel. We'll explain anything and everything so we can learn together. So, let's see what I can cook up for you today.
Okay, let's go. We have the news in Zambia very shock. There was a case that shook the entire African continent. Two men were arrested for trying to assassinate President Hikolima using witchcraft. More than that, police found the whole combo. Charms, strange powders, and even a live gecko, which they claimed was the spirit carrier for the ritual. They even said that if the ritual was done correctly, the president could die within 5 days. The story blew up in international news because it shows that witchcraft isn't just some ancient myth, it's still showing up in modern politics. Luckily, the president's fine, but honestly, just hearing this is already creepy. This whole thing instantly reminded me of the book Black Magic. That book collects tons of real stories from Europe, the Middle East, to Africa, where people used witchcraft like a kind of weapon, cursing X, taking down enemies, even influencing war and politics. And if you boil it down, black magic makes one point clear. People turn to witchcraft because they're scared, they're desperate, and they want control over things they can't control. And to understand why people still believe in this today, we need to look back at the oldest evidence ever recorded. Ancient artifacts. In ancient Europe, people literally carved curses onto thin sheets of lead. These things were called defictiones. And a bunch of them are now displayed at the British Museum and the Roman Baths in Bath, UK. One tablet even says, "Punish the one who stole my cloak. Don't let him eat. Don't let him sleep." Meanwhile, in Central Africa, there are these wooden power figures called Nisi Nakandi. You can see them at the Brooklyn Museum and the Met. Every nail hammered into the statue is a promise, a contract, or a request to punish someone who did wrong. It wasn't just superstition, this was how communities kept people in check, using sacred fear as a social tool. And to talk about the effects people believed in, luckily, there's no medical record proving that curses have supernatural power. But their social impact? That part was very real. Roman curse tablets were often thrown into sacred wells because people believed the gods would hear them. Nisi figures were used right in the middle of community meetings, turning an oath into something way scarier than any written law. And what about the people who actually practiced this stuff? In many indigenous cultures, they weren't outcasts at all, they were healers, peacekeepers, even community leaders. But in early modern Europe, just being suspected of witchcraft could get you arrested, put on trial, and executed during the witch hunts that lasted for centuries. Okay, history lesson done. Now, let's spill the tea. What types of witchcraft are out there? 1. Curse magic, the ancient attack spell. Believe it or not, almost every civilization in history had some form of curse magic. Egypt, Greece, Africa, you name it. Cursing was basically the classic dark magic. People believed that if you wrote someone's exact name, combined it with a symbol or an object tied to their spirit, the curse would stick to them. Which honestly makes me wonder, how bold did people have to be to walk around asking for someone's full name just to curse them? In ancient Greece, they engraved curses onto lead tablets called katadesmoi, then buried them in graves so the spirits could deliver the message. In Egypt, curses were written on broken bowls, symbolizing the target's soul being shattered. This wasn't just angry words. It was a whole ritual system. Many cultures believed language itself had supernatural vibration, a sort of soul frequency that could harm you. Why they believed it? Egyptians thought your real name was your second soul, destroy it, and you hurt the person. But in Babylon, curses were tied to punishing gods like Shamash. 2. Sympathetic magic, the voodoo doll logic. Okay, I will show you about how it works. There are two things they believe are. First, things that look alike are linked, and touching the symbol mean affects the real person. If you wanted someone to get sick, you made a doll that represented them and stabbed the part you wanted to target. If you wanted their business to fail, you burned things connected to their wealth, clothes, hair, even personal seals. This style showed up everywhere: medieval Europe, the Sahara, and even Australian Aboriginal groups with their infamous bone-pointing ritual. All it took was one coincidence, someone getting sick right after the ritual, and the entire community would treat it as absolute proof. 3. Necromancy, talking to the dead. Then we have necromancy, and no, it wasn't just movie stuff. In medieval Europe, it was secretly practiced by scholars, ex-monks, and court magicians. They believed spirits could reveal secrets, predict the future, or harm enemies. Rituals happened at midnight using summoning circles, fire, incense, and sometimes animal blood. People think witches did this, but honestly, it was mostly educated men who had access to books. So how they did it: first, drawing a summoning circle with charcoal or blood. Second, burning heavy incense as spirit smoke. Third, saying the dead person's name 3 times, sometimes using bones or grave soil. 4. Divinatory hexes, magic to change fate. This type wasn't about predicting the future, it was about changing it. These rituals were meant to influence big events: battles, harvests, weather, even politics. In ancient China, there are records of sealing spells used to weaken political rivals inside the royal court. So, how it work? First, drawing sigils based on moon phases. Second, using ash, blood, or herbs. Third, calling on gods or spirits to enforce the outcome. And then if someone believed they were hexed, they'd panic, lose sleep, and end up sabotaging themselves, basically making the curse real through fear. And finally, magic that uses animals as spirit carriers. In parts of Africa, lizards and beetles were common familiars. In Europe's witch hunts, black cats were seen as living curse tools. Across Southeast Asia, chickens, birds, and insects were used in rituals to break someone's luck. People believed animals had flexible spirits that could be steered, and when the animal died, the negative energy would transfer to the target. If dark magic isn't real, then why did people believe it worked for thousands of years? Here's the twist: most of its power didn't come from anything supernatural. It came from humans themselves. So let's discuss, why does IT work? Humans react intensely to what they believe. If you think a charm protects you, your body literally releases positive hormones, the placebo effect. But if you think you're cursed, your body also reacts in the worst way. That's the nocebo effect: fast heartbeat, fatigue, panic, insomnia. And guess what? Those symptoms make you believe even more that the curse is real. That's why so many victims of witchcraft actually got sick not from magic, but from fear. 2. Lack of knowledge about medicine, microbes, and disease. In ancient times, people didn't know about bacteria, viruses, parasites, mold toxins, food poisoning, metal poisoning. So when someone died suddenly, collapsed, or developed a rash, they blamed curses. Diseases like epilepsy, depression, panic disorder, or schizophrenia were seen as possessed, cursed, haunted. You might have heard hundreds of eerie stories, curses, rituals, and all kinds of supernatural claims. But when we look at them through a scientific lens, we realize this: witchcraft isn't a supernatural force. It's a blend of fear, imagination, and the gaps in human understanding. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and share it with your friends. And let us know in the comments, Which of these facts blew your mind the most? See you in the next episode.